Whoa. Okay, this is the moment of truth. Can you guys hear me? Please let me know if everything's good on the audio. Are we good? All right, well, I'm gonna assume that the audio is good to go for now. I have a mic that I've attached, and I didn't know if it was gonna be all flaky on me, but seems like it's all right. So, thank you guys so much for joining me. A few things before we start to chat. First of all, I live near an airport, so if you hear a very loud boom every once in a while, that is a plane flying like directly over my building. Second of all, my apartment is close to a bar and they have a ton of live music late at night. It is actually midnight right here, or right, it is midnight here in Thailand, and they are having a blast downstairs. So you'll probably hear a very faint music in the background. Maybe if you get lucky, you'll get to hear Barbie Girl. They like to serenade me with that every night, almost every night. It's pretty crazy. So let's see. First of all, big news. Nightshade Academy is out. It's finally done. Oh man, it has been a long journey. I wouldn't say it necessarily took longer than expected to publish the book. I kind of had a gut feeling that this one was gonna take longer than Capsule did, but it definitely pushed me to my limits in terms of the time frame. When I reached the end, I was like going over every single deadline, and those were hard deadlines. So I could have really screwed things up, but I didn't. It's out. Thank goodness. Um, let's see. If you were here for the release of Capsule, first of all, thank you for still being here because that's crazy. It's been so long. But I wanted to say for the release of Capsule, I had a release video come out before I did a live stream like this. And the reason why I don't have a release video out right now is because I'm still working on it. I thought it would be fun this time around if I actually filmed stuff the day of the actual launch. So I did a little bit of filming today. If you, I think I posted about it, I guess it was only on Instagram and the newsletter, but I got a cake designed to look like the cover of Nightshade Academy. And I love it. It's so cool. I had no clue what to expect when I ordered the cake. I just found this cake shop on Instagram that lived kind of close to me, and I messaged them a book cover and they're like, "Oh yeah, we can do that." I didn't know what do that meant, but I I ended up getting the cake today and it literally was the cover of my book. I don't know how they did that. They like printed onto the fondant or something, but it was very cool. And I actually got a slice with me here today, which I don't actually feel like eating because I had cake earlier, had quite a bit of cake earlier. I ended up taking the cake to this co-working space, which I go to almost every day to work. And my friends and I, we cut up the slices and we distributed them to a bunch of random workaholic strangers who were working at like 10 p.m. at the office. And yeah, one guy completely declined. I said, "Hey, do you want cake?" And he just said no and ran out the door. So that was a little bit embarrassing, but most people were very excited to have a piece of my cake. And I still have quite a bit of cake left with me here, but unfortunately, it is now demolished. So I can't show you the beauty that it once was. But I will be posting pictures on Instagram later and probably YouTube as well. So you will see. Oh, and of course the vlog when the release video comes out. So you'll see. We actually got quite a bit of interactions on camera. I believe my friend was recording. I think she got some of that, the interactions of us handing out the cakes and stuff. So that was cool. Yeah, I've actually never done. Yeah, I've never like. I'm not used to going out there and kind of telling people about my book. Just the concept of, I guess I did do that one launch party for Leaving Wishville years ago, But even then, I was really iffy about inviting people. Like, I was so embarrassed to like ask people at school. I didn't even tell anyone at school about it. It was my teachers who found out through a newsletter that they were on, and they're like, "Oh, you're having an event. Let's tell all the classes." And it was so embarrassing. So I'm not used to like going out there and pitching my book as much as I am doing that online and like talking about my work. Today, someone actually asked me someone asked me, "So what's Nightshade Academy about?" And I literally, even though I have memorized my response to that question, I was tripping over my words. But I recovered. I recovered in the end. I want to shout out Elsa for ordering my book. Thank you. It's coming Tuesday. Very exciting. Um, Man, it has been crazy to read the reviews for Nightshade Academy. I think there's over 70 ratings on Goodreads right now, and I would say the response has been better than the response for Capsule, which is really crazy. Uh, I'm not gonna try to jinx it. It's only a matter of time before I get a horrible 1-star review that hates my guts. But right now, everyone's been so nice and everyone's really enjoyed it, and so that's been really exciting and deserving of cake. So, yeah, now that I've blabbered on for quite a bit, if you guys have any questions or topics you want to discuss, feel free to let me know. Otherwise, I will just keep rambling for a little bit. You can probably hear the plane coming in now. Uh, oh, sorry. There's like an emoji covering this petition for a cake slice to be sent with every book order. Oh, that would be great. That would be great. Uh, Actually, I'm not sure how many of you know the significance of the cake, but I specifically ordered a chocolate cake because there is a chocolate cake that makes an appearance halfway through the book that gets has a hard time. The cake has a hard time, so it is a very significant type of cake. I feel like chocolate, like a rich chocolate cake, is the all-time celebratory cake that you have when something really good happens. And yeah, I won't go. I'm not going to spoil anything, but chocolate cake is my favorite cake. I don't know about you guys, but there's nothing that beats chocolate cake. I do want to say that I am already working on book two, and I'm actually, well, I'm already quite a ways through book two. I'm participating in NaNoWriMo this month. It was going really well until like the past couple of days because I've been so busy with launching Nightshade Academy. But I'm gonna get back to it tomorrow, and I'm trying to get faster at writing and get the books out as fast as I can. I know that I've never felt this type of pressure before, I guess, because I was writing standalones for the longest time. But now I'm in a place where I ended the book on a cliffhanger and people are actually waiting, so I need to, get my act together and finish the next book. So far, so well. That's not the phrase, is it? So far, so good? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Um, Anyways, another thing that I want to say is as much as I love Nightshade Academy, I am so happy to be moving on. It is actually crazy. I've been working on this book for, when people have asked me that today, I've been saying 2 years. But when I actually look back on it, I think it might be closer to 3 years. The timeline is mushy to me because I remember I started working on it the year before I left for Thailand. And then all of my time here in Thailand has just been editing it. This entire like new phase of my life, I've just been working on this one project. So it has been a significant part of my life. And by significant, I mean multiple hours every day. Uh, During the most heavy parts of the editing process, I would sometimes edit all day, like nonstop. So it was really intense. You'll see with my farm video, which is coming out soon. Did I mention it was a farm video? My release video that I will be posting, it also covers a period of time when I was wrapping up the final stages of the editing process for Nightshade Academy, and I was on a rice farm for 2 full days, like 3 days in total, I think. I was on this rice farm, isolated from society, and the book was the only thing I could really do. So yeah, yeah, it has been a labor-intensive project, and I'm so excited to just be done with it and be ready to move on. I think I do struggle with perfectionism with my books, and I probably fixate over the details more than I should. For example, before releasing this version that is published, I read the final draft 3 times just to make sure. I read it 3 times in 1 week. It was horrible. I hated it. I swore I was starting to memorize the paragraphs. It was really horrible. I don't recommend. But I was that paranoid about making sure everything was good to go. I'm gonna take a look at these comments really quick. Oh, sorry. Oh, no, 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 no. I hope the frosting is beet flavored. Actually, there's this restaurant that I go to almost every day called Salad Concept. They somehow make vegetables taste really good, so it's been a good thing. And they have these like juice shots that you can take, and I just discovered yesterday that the juice they have like a beet one. It's not 100% beet, but it's partially beet, and I'm tempted to just get it just cuz. But I also don't want to be like gagging, in the restaurant. I probably make beet juice out to be worse than it is, but I hate beet juice, so that's why the characters in my book hate beet juice. So that is a reflection of my personal bias on the matter. Let's see. Which book has been your favorite to write? I would say Nightshade Academy. Uh, yeah, I would say Nightshade Academy for sure. I think just the phase of life that I'm in right now has been much more peaceful for me than the high school environment. Although being in high school and writing this book, that was an interesting experience because I could incorporate stuff from high school into my work. But it's just been a much more calmer process, and I've had more time to dedicate to the book where I'm not like squeezing stuff in between classes. And I remember it was really hard to make the time to write when I was in high school, and it's not quite so hard now. There are other things that stress me out now that's not homework assignments, but it's just overall easier to manage my time, I would say. Not that time management is ever easy. So I would say just the process of writing for Nightshade Academy has made the process more enjoyable. But then also just the fact that the story is so nostalgic. Um, I actually can't even recall that much why I started writing Capsule in particular out of all of the book ideas I had at the time. Whereas with Nightshade Academy, it was clearly the winner. Like, this was the number one story that I wanted to tell. So I'm excited. I'm excited. Let's see. Have you read Kafka on the Shore? I haven't read much Haruki Murakami, to be honest. I filmed that video, and then I read one book, and that was kind of the end of it. The sky weeps with us truly deserves its. Sorry, I'm kind of far from the computer. Its flowers, its time and care taken with Nightshade Academy really shows through the writing. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. I would say that this book was the book that I put the most energy into the actual writing process. And I discussed this with Grayson. If you didn't see Grayson's video about Nightshade Academy and the Belladonna trilogy, check it out. It's very good. But I filmed a video with Grayson on his channel, Grayson Taylor, and I talked a bit about how I started to make my writing more concise in Nightshade Academy, and I was able to trim it down from around 150,000 words to 115,000 words. And let me tell you, I literally thought it was impossible. I told myself, like, this just needs to be a long book. There's too much content, there's too much that happens. There's no way I can cram it into a shorter period of time. There will be no breathing room. And after studying some books like Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card and some other nonfiction books that were really concise, and I loved the writing style. And then looking back on Leaving Wishville, which actually was a more simplistic writing style, I realized that I really like the close attention to detail and being able to tell a lot with fewer words. And so I really challenged myself to trim down as much stuff as possible that wasn't necessary. And I also knew that some people wouldn't like that because I know a lot of people like immersive writing styles. Even I like reading books that are really immersive and grounded and like rich in description. But I think for my own work, I really liked going in the direction of simplicity and leaving more up to interpretation for readers to fill in the gaps. And so, Nightshade Academy, I tried to trim it to the bare bones of the story and kind of let the story and characters speak for themselves and not handhold the reader through the entire process. I think I did do that a little bit with Capsule, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I just prefer doing it the way I did in Nightshade Academy. So I'm very happy with how the writing turned out in this final version. Um, what is your guess as to how much coffee you consumed during the writing of the book? Well, let us see. I can actually, oh, I don't have my phone with me here. Calculator. Let me pull up a calculator really quick. So let's say it was 2.5 years because my memory is hazy. 2.5 times, let's say 2.5. That is that true? I would say about 2,300 lattes, according to my math, which sounds absolutely horrible. But that's yeah, I think that might be it. Interesting question. Let's see. Congrats on release day. Thank you. Who's your favorite character in book two? Oh my goodness. Let me see. I don't think I can choose really. There are a lot of interesting characters. First of all, I will say that Everest, she will be playing a larger role in the story, and I've done some sorry, I've done some really interesting things with her character. Um, Also, I will mention that it's not going to be from Yashi's perspective. Book two is making a switch. It's going to be multiple perspective, which may be kind of weird at first, but for me, it's been working, and it seems like the only way to tell the story to the way it needs to be told. I've thought about it a lot. I've agonized it over that decision actually for months and months because it just felt weird to focus so much on Yashi and then kind of branch out, but it has to be done. So we are branching out. We're going to see a lot of Pinto. Pinto is one of the leading roles in this story, so we see a lot from Pinto's perspective, and that has been really fun to write. Kind of getting into Pinto's head more. I can relate to him a lot. I would say Everest. Okay, to answer your question, I would say Everest has been kind of a favorite character for me. And then I would also say it's really fun to write from Santi's perspective as well. He's just his sense of humor is very fun for me. And I also really like this new character, Arrow, who you guys will eventually meet. And she's just the type of character I've never really written before. It's very new for me, so that's been exciting, and she's probably one of my favorite characters in book two. Uh, let's see. I'm really excited to buy the book. I knew I'd like every book you write ever since I read Leaving Wishville. How would you describe book two? Okay, thank you so much. Let's see, book 2. I don't wanna give too much away for those who haven't read book 1, but I would describe book 2 as more of a mystery vibe. So there's a lot of it's kind of half mystery, half war. I guess I could put it that way. There is a lot of just the theme of like discovering the truth is still very present, and there's kind of this ongoing investigation going on. All of the characters are scattered about. Everyone's just scattered, and you're going to see old characters come back, and that is all I will say. Let's see here. Oh, in 3 words. That was definitely much more than 3 words. I probably described it in 3 sentences there, or 3 paragraphs. In 3 words. Okay, let's give this a shot. Detective, uh, strategy, and I'm blanking here. Let's leave it with, yeah, I win the game. I only had to use 2. Let's see. When did you come up with the idea of using one of your past books as a plot point in Nightshade Academy? Hmm. I think it's from the YouTube community, actually. I never really thought about rewriting the book until I had that one video take off in which I talked about the book I unpublished at 13, and then especially the video I posted to follow up, where I actually read the first chapter of The Sky Weeps With Us. There were quite a few people who said, you should try rewriting it. And maybe it was peer pressure or it was like subliminal messaging, and I was somehow, like there's a puppet master, and now I'm writing this story. But definitely did play a role. Like it planted the seed in my mind, and I couldn't really stop thinking about it after that. And eventually, when Capsule was over and I didn't know what to work on, this was the idea that kept haunting me. So it kind of came out of necessity or programming, I would say, rather than my own will or decision. Let's see here. um, will we see Vel's perspective? My answer is I don't know yet. I don't know. But we will see her perspective at some point during the trilogy. I just don't know if book 2 is the time. But we will have to see. We'll have to see. With the plot point question, I mean, as in the repeated dialogue, "The sky weeps with us." Probably should have mentioned that. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, yeah, incorporating "The sky weeps with us." Hmm. I definitely knew that I wanted a callback, and I liked the phrase a lot. I didn't want it to be the title of the book, but I really loved "The sky weeps with us" as a phrase, and I also was in the situation where, not to spoil I'm trying not to spoil it, where I actually needed a phrase, an interesting phrase in the story. And so it just so happened that I was able to integrate that really seamlessly. But I didn't necessarily create the plot points around incorporating that phrase or try to find a way to cram it in. It just so happened that, oh, I need a phrase here. Why don't we just use that? So that worked out really well. Um, It's cool that it's multiple perspectives, makes every character feel fleshed out. Ah, yes. I'm glad to hear that. I actually, when I think about it, I think kind of thrive with multiple perspectives. That's kind of what I've been writing, even going back to Leaving Wishville. I mean, Capsule really stands out for that because we have, Jackie, Peter, Cat. But even going back to Leaving Wishville, I had thrown in, the story is about Benji, but I have his friends' perspectives, I have his mom's perspective thrown in there. So there's a lot of perspectives going on. And Nightshade Academy was kind of confining because it was all from Yashi's perspective. But at the same time, I think it worked out really well because we got a really like tight feeling is kind of what I was trying to go for Nightshade Academy. We're in one person's head. We're locked at one location for a majority of the book, and you can't really escape. So it's very confining to, and I think it worked well for the story, and it might have been too much to hop around and just given how much needed to be established in the first book. But I'm ready to dive into the multiple perspectives. I have been playing around with incorporating some unexpected people's perspectives into book two that may or may not make the final version. At its core, it switches between Pinto and Santi, who some of you may or may not know. So that is the current like two main characters. I have some other stuff sprinkled in there that, like I said, I don't know if I will keep or not. I would also like to just give a huge thank you for letting me have an art copy of the book. It's the first one. It's the first one I've ever had, and I loved reading it. Thank you so much for reading it and being an ARC reader. Man, like I couldn't have possibly gotten all of these reviews without you guys. I'm very grateful to have so many positive reviews. Even like you're supposed to leave honest reviews, but yeah, I'm very happy for the response I received, and I'm so glad that you enjoyed the book. It was so nerve wracking to send this book out, especially after how much I hyped it up, because I didn't really, when I was working on Nightshade Academy, I was creating YouTube content, but I was like, I had my old camera. I didn't really know what I was doing. Not that I know what I'm doing now, but I really didn't know what I was doing then. And it was just kind of this little thing I was doing on the side of school that just happened to kind of do more well than I thought it would do. And yeah, but I didn't really, I wasn't thinking about like ways to promote my book that much. And yeah, so there wasn't much hype. I didn't make like a whole series around behind the scenes or anything crazy like that. So the fact that I did that for like Nightshade Academy, that really like put a lot of pressure on me. I think looking back, like, oh goodness, people know how much effort I put into this book, how much time I put into it. I've made this whole behind the scenes thing, and I'm pretty much promising that it's going to be good. I was really stressed that I was just going to have like a pour of a bunch of one-star reviews. Like I wasn't expecting this, or like why was there so much hype if it's not even good? But yeah, I had a lot of like anxiety around the whole advanced reader campaign, but the response was overwhelmingly positive, which is just amazing. I am publishing probably in summer, still gathering beta feedback. When should I start promoting it on social media, and how do I do it? I have a very small following. Uh, hmm. I would say you could start now, but don't feel the need to like figure everything out. You can just make it fun, I think, and not put too much pressure on yourself. And but yeah, from the advice that I've generally heard, sooner is better, and my experience ends up affirming that, I would say, because I started off with a very small following when I was working on Leaving Wishville, and I wasn't expecting anything to happen with that. And you never know, like stuff takes off really randomly. Apparently there's no way to control it. That's kind of what I'm coming to terms with, is algorithms are constantly changing, and you don't really know when you're going to be relevant or not, or when people are going to discover your, like you'll have new people discovering your stuff. You have some control over the chances, but you don't have complete control over it. So just having more content out there will help your odds. So I would say, get started as soon as you can, but don't put too much pressure on yourself. The book trailer for Nightshade Academy was very cool and a bit unexpected, even. What was your process making it? Yeah. I don't remember why I decided to make it. Actually, I think I just thought it'd be fun, and I wasn't planning to make it at first. So that's why it was kind of unexpected. It was also unexpected for me. Uh, the process for that was actually I don't have like a behind the scenes video, which is kind of nice. I got to just like work on something without documenting it. But the process for that was, first of all, I realized that I had a lot of content to work with from the audio drama, from all of the voice actors. So I had to go through and like pull a lot of my favorite lines, and I just like made a really long list. And then after that, I had to go through the long list and I had to organize them and delete certain ones and then put them back in and put kind of create a dialogue that had sort of a mini story, or at least didn't like made some sense. So it wasn't like they were just saying completely random stuff. It kind of had a progression to it of increased intensity. And yeah, I kind of had to structure it out, and that took some time. And then I sent those notes to Juan, who did all of the editing for the audio adaptation. He's amazing. I love working with him. It's just so fun whenever we work on projects together. So I sent him my notes, and he said, "Yeah, I'll see what I can make." And so he pulled all of those lines from the original and re-edited them, and then added music, which was all of the original music from the audio drama as well. So he added music, added sound effects. I believe that he pulled all of the sound effects from the audio drama, although he might have added some new ones in as well. And then he sent me like a audio file that was 1 minute long, and then I took that, and then I had to fish through the internet for like licensed clips or like clips free to use that I could incorporate into the video, which was so hard. I didn't realize how hard it was to just find like I wanted like boots walking through the forest. That was so hard to find. So it was a lot of like searching on my part to find the right clips. I went through a lot of variations. It first started out with like this character like opening a door, and then the boots walk in, and then the boots stop. It's just there was too many boots. So yeah, it was a quite the long process, but like Juan and I, we both edited. I did like the visuals, he did the audio, and it was very fun. uh, oh, got nothing else here. If you have any questions, let me know. What time is it? Okay, I still got time. It is still like it's kind of crazy. It's midnight here, so the release day is ending for me, but it's gonna be going on in the States while I'm sleeping, or maybe not sleeping and working on the video. We'll see. I was planning to get it out in the evening your time for those of you who are in the States, but I don't know if I'm willing to pull an all-nighter, so maybe I will get some rest and start fresh tomorrow. But I will have it out shortly because I want to have it out obviously around the time of the actual launch. I'm very excited to edit the cake clips because like me and my friend like passing out cake to strangers in the office was so awkward. And I'm excited for you guys to see that. That was just yeah, it's like yeah. I'm pretty sure they're like, "Yeah, I'll take the cake. Don't tell me about your book." They're probably thinking like, "Why are you telling me about your book?" Um, but yeah, that was interesting. Um, do you think Nightshade Academy would work if it was adapted as a series? Oh, do you mean like a show series? Or like a series as in more than a trilogy? The audio drama was awesome, it makes me wonder how cool that would be. I'm guessing that you mean like a TV show or something. Do I think it would work? Yes, I think it could. That would be very fun. It would be very interesting. I don't. I feel like it would be really interesting because due to the lack of too many descriptions in the book, the fact that it's rather simplistic, I feel people can have very different interpretations of what the world is like, which is pretty cool. Actually, I saw like a reader make a one of those like mood reels on Instagram. An advanced reader made like a mood reel for Nightshade Academy, and there were certain things in it that differed from my interpretation, which was actually very cool, and I really liked that. How do you work with beta feedback? Because there's a lot of feedback, and I will still get more. So, do you have any advice on how to organize it and implement it? Yes, I wrote out something, like, my process for this a while ago, and it'd probably take me a while to fish it up. So I'll try to go by memory, but the general idea is to just break it down into stuff that you need to change and stuff that you could potentially change, like you're considering changing, and then stuff that you're not going to change. Um, and kind of organize their feedback into those 3 sections. And probably the middle section is going to be the longest, like stuff that you could potentially implement. But I think that's important to do so that you can work on the stuff you need to change. That, like, the feedback, let's say a lot of people say the same thing, you know that you need to change it, put it in that section and work on those things first. Because I have made the mistake in the past of hearing one or two beta readers say something, and I'm like, oh, that's a good idea, and then I spend like hours and hours implementing it, and then later realize that I shouldn't have done it. Um, so yeah, just it's tricky, especially if you have a lot of feedback, because it won't. If you have a lot of beta readers, it's a lot of times you'll have conflicting feedback where someone wants more of something, someone wants less of something. And so there's a lot of weighing pros and cons in that case. So just be really careful before you actually make any changes. What was the editing process look like for you? Um, I usually work on writing and editing Uh, generally in the mornings now, not really the evenings. I think I used to write at night more, but I don't. I like writing first thing when I wake up. It's kind of like something I look forward to doing uh during my day, like the most enjoyable type of work that I do. So I like to have that at the start, which is maybe not a good idea. Maybe I should do the stuff that I hate to get it over with, but that's usually how I do it. And when I'm really heavy, like deep in the editing process, um, then I usually spend a long time, like however long it takes to get through what I need to. So create a schedule for myself, and usually that would involve like editing one chapter a day, and I'll have like a long list of notes of changes I need to make, and then just overall trying to make it better. And however long that take, that however long that would take is how long I would spend on it that day. Sometimes it wouldn't take that long, and sometimes a chapter needed to be like completely rewritten, and it would take me like the entire day and part of the next day. But generally, I edit most of the time in chronological order, and I assign like a certain amount of scenes or chapters per day to work on. I don't really go by a time length, like writing for 2 hours a day, because I don't really like to stop midway through a process. I like finishing it off. Uh, how do you decide what from beta feedback you use and what you don't change? I think the two main factors is the two things to think about is how many people are saying you need to make that change, and why, like whether or not you actually want to make it. So there are some cases in which a lot of beta readers say something, but I don't want to make that change and I have a valid reason. Maybe it has to do with like the next book that in the series, or it's just my own personal preference. And sometimes you have to make tough calls like that. Generally, I will follow what the majority says, but there are definitely cases when if I like really oppose what the majority is saying, like I ask myself why. And sometimes it's better to go against the majority in some decisions. Um, if it was a series, do you think action or animation? I'm I'm anime or sorry, I like my sentence just that was the weirdest thing. My sentence, okay. Um okay, let me restart that. If it was a series, do you think live action or animation would work better? I am biased because I love animation. I will admit that I haven't been watching that much TV lately, but I for a while ago I was watching quite a few more live action shows, and I kind of got out of the whole animation phase, but it still has a very I still it's very nostalgic to me. I loved cartoons and animation and anime growing up. I just absolutely despised. If I knew that there were real people, I'm like, "Oh, it's a real people movie? Gross." I didn't watch any of that. So I watched a lot of animation, so I would say animation on that one just 'cause I'm biased that way. Um, how many pages are there in the book and what's the word count? The word count is about like 110, 115, somewhere in that range. 1,000, 110,000, 115,000. And then the page count, I believe, is three. The gosh, I should know this. It's close to 400, like 380 or 70, somewhere like that. It would have been much longer if I hadn't trimmed it down. How do you get motivation to write? Because sometimes I don't write for a long time and I don't feel motivated to. I definitely understand that. I think it's been easier for me just because it's become such a big part of my life now. And I think it just comes down to the habit of the thing. Like I'm just accustomed to working on my books every day. And so I don't really think of the alternative of what else I would do with my time, or it's just something I do. And so, like, having a routine or something, I think, helps you get into an autopilot mode where you don't have to, like, decide to write or feel inspired to. You just kind of do it because that's what you do. I think if you can get to that point, then it becomes much easier. And, like, it was definitely harder when I was a student, but, having a scheduled time to write, like, even in high school where I'd write a specific time every day, I remember that helping a lot to actually stay consistent, um, when I had, like, classes and stuff like that. I will say, um, maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but I am working on another side project that is not book 2, and is a spin-off, and, you didn't hear it from me, but it may or may not be coming out, like, halfway between book 1 and book 2. And I'm very excited about it. And I already have the cover designed, which I won't be dropping yet, but I do have the cover designed, and I have written quite a bit of it, and I love it. And it's set in the past before Yashi goes to the academy, a long time before. I don't think, yeah, he's not even born at this point. So I'm writing a spin-off, and I'm very, very excited to share that. It's probably not going to be a full-length novel. I'm thinking it'll be a novella, but I will share more when I can share more, and I know things are more official about, like, release dates and stuff like that. But it has been fun. I have so many ideas about this series, and even so many characters I want to explore more. It's like there's so many stories I could tell. I like there's a lot of backstory for every single character, or at least the main ones. And I could imagine how interesting it would be to just like explore that. I have to kind of hold myself back a little bit, like stay in the current timeline. But yeah, I love this story so much, and I know that this is kind of like what I should be working on, just because I remember when I published Capsule, I had quite a few readers who wanted a sequel, and they messaged me saying they wanted a sequel, or they said it in their Goodreads review, or something like that. And even though I was hearing that a lot, I didn't want to write a sequel, and I knew I didn't want to write a sequel. But now it's like if anyone says, "Oh, I would love I would love to read a backstory about this character," it's like I have a novel idea for it already, and I'm like ready to write it. So I just know like this world is definitely like uh for some reason very motivating to me. I'm very attached to this world much more than the world of Capsule, which is cool. What are the most important things to ask your beta readers? I would say asking them what parts they were bored at and what parts they wish they wanted more of. Those are the main things that I focus on. So, if they wanted something to last longer, you could play around with the idea of adding more scenes like that. Although you don't have to. Sometimes it's good to leave them wanting more. But the parts that are boring for them, that's definitely a challenge. And that's something that needs to be focused on the most, I would say, is parts that drag. And it's impossible to get the perfect pacing because everyone wants something different. People will always say that a book is too fast, or and someone else will say that the book is too slow, and that's just how it is. And one thing that I've noticed is nobody says I haven't read. I've read a lot of reviews. I've never read a review that said the book started off way too fast, but then it slowed down, and then I was engaged. They always say the book started off slow, but then the pace got faster, and I was engaged. And I've come to the conclusion that I think all books start off slow, like because you're not going to dive straight into the intensity. I'm getting into too much technical conversation here, but that's just one thing that I've noticed. So you can't please everyone when it comes to the whole pacing thing. I always get stuck with writing a little bit and spending lots of time adding flavor and fancy phrases instead of actually developing the story. How can I write without getting stuck detailing? I would say the solution the solution for that is pretty easy because I had the same problem, and that would be to not allow yourself to edit until you finish the draft or finish the stage of editing that you want to finish. So once I write a chapter, I don't let myself touch it until I've written the full draft, which is what I'm doing right now. I've been very tempted to I'm like, "Ooh, I just want to change that line that Pinto said," but I don't do it. Yeah, even though it probably wouldn't hurt to change one thing here or there, but I don't wanna get in the habit of, going back and editing when it's not the right time to do that. Hi, Philip. Let's see. I'll probably go for, 12 more minutes to answer questions or just talk about random things. I don't wanna go over the hour point. Might be dragging it out too much. If it doesn't come bursting out of you, don't write. Hmm. I don't know. It might depend on the person, but sometimes I've found if I'm not feeling motivated or something, if I actually just sit down and try, it'll start coming. But yeah, sometimes it just doesn't work. I had a really bad experience with I started off really strong with NaNoWriMo this month, and then I had this one day um that I just could not write for the life of me, and I was so upset that I actually just left the office and I went home and I watched I just watched stuff on my phone on YouTube or whatever. And I was not very proud of myself that day. But yeah, some days for some reason the writing just doesn't come naturally. How do you get some ideas for your books? Well, honestly, I have no idea. I just get random ideas and I jot them down in my notes app. And it's I'm sure that a lot of it is based on personal experiences that I have in real life. Sometimes a friend will point it out to me like, "Oh, did you base this on that one thing?" And I'm like, "Hmm, actually maybe." I think subconsciously I do that. But it's very rare when I'll meet someone who's interesting and be like, "Oh, that person would be a really interesting character in my book." It is yeah, that's not really something that I typically do. Um, so I think ideas are not necessarily random. They're probably sparked by something, but I don't really process what the spark is. It just to me it seems random. How do you get beta readers? Just ask a lot of people. Show up on these forums or Facebook groups or Discord servers or there's so many online communities. You can ask people in person. Um, you can ask friends and family. I was able to get beta readers for Nightshade Academy when I had no audience at all, no idea what I was doing. So it's possible. You just have to ask. a lot of people. Some people will say no, but you will get some yeses. So that is the strategy, I would say. Just ask people. Um, I always get a lot of inspiration from my dreams. The best part is that nobody knows. Oh, that's so nice. I don't dream, so I'm very jealous of that. I very rarely dream, and when I dream, it is always a good morning because I feel very proud. But I'm still trying to figure out why I don't dream anymore. I used to, but I just wake up, like I close my eyes and then I open them and it's the next day, like Minecraft. Is that how Minecraft works? I think that's how it works. There's like a I don't remember. It's been a long time. But yeah, I miss dreaming. So if anyone has tips on how to dream again, please let me know. Maybe I'm getting too old, but yeah, that's very cool. Dreams are probably a great place to get inspiration just because they're so weird, at least as I can recall. I've found that writing down dreams immediately after I wake up makes me remember them in the future. Okay, I should try that. I think I just need to get in the habit of like prompting myself to think, to like ask myself what my dream was about. Because maybe I do remember, I'm just not thinking about it at the moment. Um, I tend to remember my dreams if I keep writing them down in them. Okay, so we've got another person saying that. I will try that. I will try writing my dreams down, and maybe I'll actually be able to remember them. Um, we'll see. We'll see. Um, Keep a dream journal. I sometimes see patterns in my dreams. Oh, that's scary. I don't know if I want to dive into why I'm dreaming about certain things. Do you read Russian literature? I don't think so. No, I don't. Um, would you recommend any Russian literature? Because I will look into it. I've been reading a lot of nonfiction lately. I've been reading, well, my favorite one that I've read, like in the past few months or so. Actually, I don't know when I finished it. Was Lost Connections. That book was very very good, very eye opening. And I also read like Deep Work and all these like kind of productivity self help books. But yeah, they've been really interesting. I just like to listen to audiobooks and stuff while I'm eating dinner. I figure it's probably better than Netflix, even if it's kind of like the same information. And I've also been re-listening to what's it called? Essentialism. The book Essentialism. I think that's Greg McEwen. And yeah, I've been re-listening to that, and literally all of his points that he's making, it just gives me that same like aha moment from the first time, and it's making me realize how horrible my memory is. Like I remember reading it and it was life changing, and I'm reading it a second time and it is like equally life changing. It's like, did I not soak in any of the information? It's like it went through one ear and then sat in my brain for just a little bit and then went out. Which is just weird. But yeah, I think it's made me realize I need to reread stuff sometimes. Every time I see or hear Dream Journal, I think of Shark Boy and Lava Girl. Oh, that's such a throwback. Oh, that's crazy. Oh, man, that movie, I remember when I watched it when I was younger, being really angry because I felt like it was a ripoff of Spy Kids. I absolutely loved Spy Kids. That was like one of the movies I watched the most growing up. The first one. The other ones weren't that great, but the first one, there's just something so nostalgic and like dreamlike about it. But yeah, I don't know. I love Spy Kids, that first one. Probably just because I watched it a billion times when I was little. Did you think Nightshade Academy took as long as you thought it would, or did it take longer than you thought? Hmm. It took longer than I planned. So I had a date that I wanted to finish by, and it took longer than that. But part of me knew that it was probably going to exceed the time that I set aside for it. So I wasn't really surprised when it happened. Um, so I guess yes and no. to that question. War and peace. Okay, interesting. I will look into that. Crime and punishment is pretty good. Okay, okay. How do you write about war? I actually had to do a lot of research on actual wars in the past and different strategies that are used to, especially in book two. Oh my goodness, because I will just say, book one is setting the stage, but book two we have like an actual war going on. So I actually had to figure out like what are actual strategies that would be used in war, and like it's interesting because there's a lot of different ways to go about like defeating the enemy. There's like very like just gruesome ways, and there's just very like sleek and cunning sort of ways. It's really interesting to learn about like the different styles of like taking down the enemy. But yeah, I did quite a bit of research about that. All right. I will be closing this off pretty soon. If you have any last minute questions, type them out very, very quickly, please. Um, oh, funny story. I don't think I got it on camera, but uh, the cake actually had like it had Nightshade Academy on it in words, and then it had Yashi, and then it had at the bottom it had my name, and my friend purposefully cut through my name right down the middle, held the knife. It was very funny. It was very Nightshade Academy to me, like Nightshade Academy humor. That was very fun. I have been playing around with like the humor in book two. That has been interesting. Um, I think book two will be challenging to edit, but I'm having a fun time making a messy draft right now. Professor Ember is so cool. Oh man, Professor Ember is just like channeling the like meanest version of myself onto the page. It's like what is like the most like I don't even know, like she's very serious and stern and takes herself too seriously is how I see her. Takes her job and herself too seriously, and it's almost humorous in its own way. So it's been very fun, and I loved writing her kind of monologues where she's just like very condescending. But yeah, I love writing about Ember. Fiction or nonfiction? Obviously, fiction for me because I write fiction, but I love reading nonfiction. Uh, I read more nonfiction than fiction, I would say. What books do you suggest? Well, right now I'm kind of on a whole like Ender's Game high because I read it again recently. So I would say Ender's Game. I really suggest that for fiction. And then right now, like the main nonfiction books that I would recommend would be Lost Connections and also Effortless and Essentialism. Effortless and Essentialism are by the same guy. Those are both, yeah, those are all really, really good. All right. This has been fun. Thank you guys for attending. It's been nice to chat with everyone. Thank you so much for supporting Nightshade Academy's launch. I will be back soon with the like official release video, and I'm excited to share it because it's kind of more of a casual kind of vlog thing, but it covers a long period of time. I started working on it a while ago in terms of the filming process. So keep a lookout for that. And it will likely be titled something along the lines of I isolated myself on a rice farm to finish writing my book. Something like that. So keep a looks out. I will not make any promises on the exact time it is coming out, but I am trying to get it out as soon as I can. So, once again, thank you for being here, and I will see you soon.